Hello and welcome to the SRCC podcast. My name is Shauna Kelly and I am one of the project workers here in the centre. Sligo Rape Crisis Centre offers support to anyone who has been affected by sexual violence. We are here to listen. We offer information, advice and a range of supports across Sligo, Leitrim and Cavan. You can contact us on 1800 750 780 or info@srcc.ie. Hello and welcome to the SRCC podcast. My name is Shauna Kelly and I am a project worker here at Sligo Rape Crisis Centre. Joining me today is my colleague Danielle Neely, who is the SRCC Counselling Coordinator.
Hi everyone.
The topic of today's podcast is consent. We will be going through the Irish legislation related to consent, the different aspects that make up consent and how to ask for consent. Consent can sometimes feel like an awkward and even intimidating topic to talk about, and we hope the information we share in today's podcast will support and encourage people to feel more comfortable talking about consent.
So to start, we will talk about the Irish legislation relevant to consent. The main piece of legislation that covers consent is the Criminal Law Sexual Offences Act of 2017. This law defines consent as a person consents to a sexual act if he or she freely and voluntarily agrees to engage in that act. We will talk in a little while about the importance of that wording. The law also lists several situations where a person cannot consent to sex, including if they are asleep or unconscious, under the influence of alcohol or drugs, or if they are being forced, manipulated, or coerced into taking part. It is also made clear in the legislation that consent can be withdrawn at any stage, and that just because a person does not resist or does not say no, this does not mean that they are consenting to any sexual acts. The age of consent in the Republic of Ireland is 17 years old. This varies in other countries, with some being 16, such as in the UK, and other countries being as low as 13 or 14 years old.
Some other legislation that is important to be aware of is the Harassment, Harmful Communications and Related Offences Act 2020, also known as COCO's Law. This law has made the non-consensual taking or sharing of intimate images or videos illegal in Ireland. This means that if a person shares or even threatens to share intimate images of someone without their consent, it is now possible to report this as a crime. It also does not matter if these images were shared accidentally or maliciously. If your intimate images or videos have been shared online, you can visit the website hotline.ie where you can request the images to be removed. COCO's Law also covers when a person sends intimate images which you do not consent to receive. The Child Trafficking and Pornography Act of 1988 makes taking or sharing intimate images of a person under the age of 18 illegal. This includes nude images which have been taken or shared by the person the image is of.
Next, we will discuss the different things that are important to consider when it comes to consent. First off, all communication is essential, and this includes both verbal and non-verbal. A person may be saying yes, but their body language may be saying the complete opposite. For example, if they are shaking or seem frozen or if they are not making eye contact. Consent should be enthusiastic, and it should be clear that everyone involved is happy and comfortable to take part. Checking in with your partner to see if they are happy with what is happening is really important. It is also important to check in with yourself as well. Having these conversations helps to make the experience more enjoyable for everyone involved.
Hello, you are listening to the SRCC podcast, which is coming to you today from our head office on Kempton Parade in Sligo Town, just beside the Garavogue River. As we mentioned earlier when talking about legislation, consent needs to be affirmative. The absence of a no is not a yes. Consent also is retractable and can be withdrawn at any time during the act. It does not matter if you're the person who has initiated or suggested it, you can change your mind at any time. Everybody involved needs to be fully informed and aware of what will be happening, and the decision needs to be mutual. Your idea of a particular act may not match up with another person's idea, so it is important to have that conversation first. Consent is also ongoing. Saying yes to one act does not mean you're saying yes to everything. It's important to regularly check in with your partner.
One of the most important aspects of consent is that it needs to be freely given and everyone involved needs to be willing to take part. Consent can never be forced, coerced, or manipulated. If a person says yes to sex out of a concern for their safety, that yes is not freely given and therefore it is not consent. Power in relationships is also something to consider when it comes to consent. If a person who is in a position of authority, for example, a manager and an employee, or a teacher and a student, they can abuse that power to coerce or manipulate a person into agreeing to sex without their willing consent. It can be very difficult to say no if you are afraid your hours at work may be cut or you may be fired. There may be power imbalances in many other types of relationships. For example, if one person earns more than the other, or even if one person is physically stronger than the other, or if one has more of a reserved personality than the other. Of course, we are not saying that these relationships are wrong or that they can't work, but these things do affect consent. And it is important to have a conversation to ensure everyone feels safe and comfortable. It is so important to remember that just because you are in a relationship with someone, this does not mean they automatically consent to sex.
Next, we'll talk about asking for consent. Asking for consent can appear to be scary or awkward, but it can also be as easy as just asking, "Are you okay? Do you like this? Or would you like to stop?" If you're comfortable and trust your partner, these conversations come naturally. One thing we suggest is to start bringing conversations about consent into your everyday life. So maybe instead of automatically giving your friend a hug if they're upset, check with them first whether that is what they would like. Some people don't like their personal space being invaded while they're upset, whereas others love a hug at a time like that. Having these chats at other times makes it easier to talk about consent when it comes to sex in relationships. Thanks for listening to the SRCC podcast. If you would like more information, some support, or if you would like to make an appointment, please get in touch with us on 1-800-750-780 or info@srcc.ie. We're here to listen.